Welcome to Ellie Goldsmith's Relationship Flow podcast. We are excited to go into a new class on the Intimacy Relationship Flow series. We are going to talk about something that we haven't discussed before, so that's very exciting. But before we do, we're just going to do a little bit of a summary of the past weeks. I think it's important that we just capture some of the key points. One of them was love is a 4-letter word, and that is T-I-M-E, time. We got that from Dr. Edith Eger, and it's something which is discussed by many relationship guides. The next point was about dealing with feelings of resentment, really working on your issues, and that took us to the next point of once you're in that safe, trust-filled space of intimacy, being in a place of positivity and love to really experience the intimacy. Then we spoke about the idea of entering a special time that we're right now in of kindness and leading it all the way to foundation, which is what we have been discussing these past weeks. This process of Sphera, we mentioned many times, the counting is very important. It has many mystical revelations, and we are now in the halfway point, actually past the halfway point, and we are heading towards that special day we mentioned in the last 2 weeks, Shavuot, which is the giving of the Torah, which is a very big guide, obviously probably the most foundational, important guide of relationships and history of mankind, humankind, and it's something which every relationship can gain by opening yourself to that revelation that took place in creation not so long ago. We're talking about 3,000 years ago or so, and it's something which I think it's 3,330 years since we left our state of restriction, of slavery, of subjugation, and we entered that journey towards receiving the Torah, and it was a 50-day process. So we are heading now towards that special day. More than right now, we are on the 28th day to be exact. 28 is koyach, is strength. Everyone needs strength to be successful, to be victorious in their relationships, to have that eternity. And that's something which, as we went through the last few weeks, we went into focusing on our relationship, how we need to really prioritize, and also with intimacy to understand there's going to be a struggle, that it's not going to be an easy process, because it's something which is important, and anything important is worth fighting for. It's worth putting out your energy and investment and being, as we say in Hebrew, moser nefesh, which just means giving up of yourself. And the key of anybody successful in a true way nowadays is, for sure, there's been some self-sacrifice in that process. And that leads us to where we're at now, that there's a certain experience of eternity, that you've now become one with this person. You've created those intimate moments, and you've shown the other person that they're the priority over everything else, even work, even other kinds of relationships, and that has validated the relationship on a whole different level, taken it to a new level, and that gives us opportunity to now enter that realm of eternity. Eternity is a very spiritual concept, but to understand that once you really touch base with the soul level, which we talk about in our United Souls book, and we'll continue to discuss in Unity Flow podcast, which we'll be updating shortly, probably tomorrow, and over there, and also in our Munas, our future podcast, you start to understand that there's a certain flow that takes us to a new world, a new level of understanding, a new realm of thinking, greatness of thought, an expansion of thought, that you're not stuck in the limitations of what's around you, but you're actually experiencing life on a whole new level. And that's the kind of relationship flow that we have power to access on a daily level and really enhance our loved ones with a real understanding that what we're doing is eternal, that what we're doing in our relationship is building our eternity together. That's an amazing thing. I mean, there's a joke that a rabbi once said, Fisher Schechter, that he was in an old age home, and he said, reminding you, everyone, that you're going to be spending eternity with your other half, and he hears a very loud groan from the back of the room of the old age home. Oy vey, oh no, I'm going to be with this person for eternity. It's a joke, but the point is that obviously we have to go the other way of that joke. We have to really understand that this soulmate that we have is perfect for us to become eternal beings, that we are intrinsically bound to this other person. We're already one soul, and that we're going to be spending that eternity together, of everything we've experienced in life, and all the investment and all the energy. I mean, it's a game-changing thought that everything you're doing in your relationship is now an eternal investment. It's not just, maybe it will work out with a bank or a Bitcoin, that have to to obviously not take away from what we're discussing right now, but like monetary investments or property investments or just even general relationship investments. I mean, everything has a certain eternal value, but in terms of, like, for example, with money, you'd use it for charity, or a relationship, you use it to do kindness or a mitzvah, a commandment from God, or everything can have an eternal value. But relationship with your soulmate is 100% an eternal value, because you're going to be together forever. So when you get that clear, that this is something so fundamental for your being, and it's not something you can make a joke of, really. It's not something you can run away from. It's not something that, if you do want to get out of, like divorce, God forbid, or separate, then you're actually undoing something which was meant to be for eternity. So it's a very serious process to undo that. And that's why when you learn in the Torah, the Talmud, about marriage, you first discuss Gerushin, you first discuss divorce before you discuss marriage, because you have to understand how a big deal it is to get divorced. It's not some small thing, it's a very big deal. And once you then enter into marriage, that eternal contract that you've just created in the kasuba, in the chuppah, in the wedding canopy, and the marriage document that's spiritually binding, your souls are bound. I mean, I just recently, not so long ago, a few months ago, I was at my daughter's wedding, and I had to be one of the the parents on the kasuba, and I had to give a go ahead to use a certain one because they made a mistake on the first one. It was a different nusach, a different from Ashkenazi, it was Sephardi, and I had to look at it and make decisions about my daughter's future with this person, and the names and the witnesses, and it was all very big stuff, and I felt very overwhelmed on a spiritual, eternal level. Like, I wasn't just involved in something that was happening that moment. This was like souls and joining of souls, and to sort of give that over, like this past Shabbos, for example, we had my daughter and son-in-law, and to give over that concept that you're like, this is a real thing, you're bound together now, you're going to have to work this out, and marriage is something which needs investment and needs persistence, and it needs a lot of inner strength to really make it what it really is, which is that true eternal bond between two souls which are really one. If you understand that on a practical, daily, everyday way of thinking, it's a whole different level of how you talk to each other, how you give to each other, how you handle money together. That is really, everything is now on a whole different level, because you're understanding there's an eternity attached to everything you're doing, and it's not just about what the Jones think or the Cohens or whatever, or it's not just about how you look on your profile or online, or how good this podcast looks when people see a picture of us together or whatever. It's not some external thing. This is eternity in this world, and every family is connected to that eternal truth. And that's why in the world out there, where they're trying to undo the principles of family and souls, they're actually undoing something of eternity, which really ultimately can never be undone. So it's actually a complete waste of time what they're doing, trying to fight that, even if it seems right now initially they seem to be having success, the different forces and people out there who want to undo these true institutions of creation, because it's just the one of the beautiful things of learning Kabbalah, mystical thoughts. Say we're coming up to the sphere of Hod, and this whole week the gates of heaven open up. We can pray for our relationships, pray for our family. There's a certain awakening of mystical truths that are intrinsic to creation. It's not something that's like you can argue about. Like the people who were connected to the more panemius, the mystical texts, and we'll talk about this more in Amunah's Our Future tomorrow in our live feed, and we'll discuss this concept of what it is, panemius Torah, the inner level of wisdom, the inner wisdom, the mystical wisdom, the Kabbalistic wisdom. These are things that can't be argued. Like, it's not like theories or scientific conceptualizations or psychological assessments. This is something which is 100% absolute of creation, the absolutes of souls and spiritual universal truths, and the fact that there's a creator that created all this. These are absolutes, and once a person's understood and connected themselves to that eternal truth, then it's a whole different level of life. Like, you experience life on a different level, and those people were never dissuaded from these truths. It's not like they were closed-minded. They were connected. They are connected, and they still are connected, and they will always be connected to those eternal truths, and their souls are eternally connected, and that's the idea of the marriage is eternally connected, and then everything you're doing in this world is eternally connected. It's an eternal chain, and then all that lack of eternity, that lack of belief, and that force that's trying to undo these beautiful things has no chance, because they're standing against something which is absolute truth. And that's really a very profound thought that will give a lot of encouragement to people who are now, seeing the world out there and feeling a bit discouraged how powerful some of these forces, these negative forces, seem to be getting. But because we have something which is intrinsic and will always be victorious. It's an eternal truth and will always stand the test of time and the test of every single movement and struggle, because it's eternal. And that's the soul relationship that relationship flow can have, and that's the kind of intimacy you go into this other level when you connect with your soulmate. You're experiencing the eternity of a relationship, and that's Olam Haba. That's the world, the eternal world. Anyway, I think we said a lot of beautiful foundational concepts that will take us to the next level, and we're looking forward to hear from your relationship flow. This is a growing process, and once again, we do have our relationship flow podcast now on blogging platforms and WordPress, and you can see visually some of the classes we're doing there and some pictures and nice things. But the main thing is keep that eternal truth in your mind, in your relationship, and share your relationship flow with us. We look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see you in the new week.